The following live broadcast is rated ESVPG, but of course, you know that can change. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Your Shoulder Voice. On tonight's show, of course, as you've seen in the topic, we're going to talk about fitting in, what it's like, how hard can it be for some people, what is it when you can be surrounded by 100 people but you never feel like you quite belong? How do you deal with it? How do you get through that? How do you find yourself and figure out where you truly fit in? We're going to talk about with people who've had trouble their whole lives doing it. Some people have found a way to do it, and we've got some more panelists coming to join us. You guys ready?
Yes.
Sure.
Good enough for me. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Your Shoulder Voice. I am Keith Liffin. We're very glad to have you here today. What we're going to be talking about, something you don't actually see with a lot of people when they're going through their everyday lives. You talk to them all the time. They're your friend. They're part of a friend group. But deep down inside, they don't feel like they always fit in. Sometimes it's the topics everybody shares. Sometimes what they talk about. It starts a lot of times in school. It starts in your elementary, your junior high, high school, when you try to find cliques. And you can become friends with everybody, but never feel like you quite belong. Over the years, you get older, a lot of times those gaps get filled. But what if they don't? What if you're still struggling to find a place you go? What if things you like, things you feel, things you do feel just differently than everybody around you? Who do you turn to? Who do you talk to? Well, we're going to discuss that today. But before we start that show, I want to remind you to like, share, subscribe, and follow Your Shoulder Voice on Twitch, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all that. We're on there. And it really does help. So we're looking for more people out there. So go to YouTube if you can. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. The more we get, the more people can engage, the more people we can reach. That's important to us. So we're glad to have you here, and we're going to have a panel to discuss everything with. But, of course, we can't do that without having that panel. So let's bring them on in. All right, our first panelist tonight, please welcome back the amazing Bill the Misfit Toy. How you doing, Bill?
Doing good. How you doing?
I love the name. I'm doing great. I love the name, Misfit Toy. It kind of goes right with not being able to fit in, huh?
Well, that, covers both edges of the show, so I don't know which way we're going with this. So
that works for sure. So, Bill, you're a man who, obviously, every time we talk to you, you're kind of one that doesn't care what other people think most of the time. You're your own person, and I think there's a lot of respect to be said for that. But no matter how we act in that sense, have you ever felt like you just didn't belong with certain groups of people, no matter how great those people were?
basically, and I mean, I'm not just saying this just because, but basically all my life that goes on, junior high school, and stuff, everyone has their cliques, like you were saying, and stuff. And then even after the fact, I mean, it was weird because most of the people I hung around with, whenever I worked in the bars, were, whenever I got older, they were 20 years younger than me and 10 years younger than me. And with that, it just, their friends don't understand. Even though I may be friends with that one person, their friends don't understand the stuff, So I was always the old man that was around there somewhere. So
age has a lot to do with it too, I think. And one thing, because you mentioned that, is growing up, a lot of my friends were older. And I mean older. They were 40s, 50s, 60s sometimes. And they were great, great people. And I seemed to get along more with them more than I did the cliques around school and stuff. But as I grew older, that kind of shifted. And I noticed I don't get the same return on that. It doesn't feel that way anymore. And that's a little hard to deal with. All right, we're going to bring our next panelist in. Please welcome back the lucky, the talented, the always in pain but still smiling, Nikki. Nikki, how you doing?
Hi, Keith. Good. How are you?
I see you're in the car right now. Please tell me you're at least not driving.
No, I'm not driving. No, I'm sitting outside because I don't have a single quiet place in my own household because it's overrun with men and noise. So
those damn men.
You damn men. So outside I went.
So how have you been doing lately? I mean, I know you're going through a lot of things, and you're still going to be on here, and I appreciate that. So how have you been doing? You getting through everything okay?
I
You
mean,
know
yeah,
what?
I'm here.
Oh,
I'm
that's
here.
also true. That's true. You are. I know you're. We're probably going to miss you for a few shows coming up. But how
No,
have
you just get the stoned Nikki, like the really stoned Nikki.
Oh, the really stone Nikki. So like a step up. I like that. I like that. So Nikki, you gave a perfect example, even with your living situation right now of being surrounded in a house of men. Do you ever feel like you just don't belong in that group? And furthermore, with you, do the kids impact that at all? The fact that they're all men too.
I mean, never have I felt within like my children and my husband that I don't belong. But growing up my entire life, it was always like just a feeling I didn't fit in. I wasn't, I didn't meet the mold for the, any of the clubs that the cool kids were in, just because that wasn't who I just didn't fit in ever, never, ever.
What about the non-cool kids? Because that was something I've been through too. Is like, whether it be just the geeks and stuff, I'm not that deep of a geek or anything to go with these people either.
Exactly, me too. And part of the problem was too, like growing up, like we were constantly moving, so I never had a chance to really get like that solid bond with friends. Every time I did, we'd move away and we'd lose touch. We didn't have cell phones, like we didn't have technology like we do now.
Yeah, it was a lot harder
So,
at that point. But I do think
mhm.
sometimes the cell phones make it harder too.
Yeah.
Like they
Well,
say,
yeah.
that's bringing everybody together sometimes with social media stuff can actually pull people further apart. And it makes
True.
it easier for them to be isolated. All right, we're going to bring our next panelist in. Please welcome back for his first time our special guest, AJ. AJ, how you doing?
I'm good. How
This
are
is
you?
not right. We got to fix that. Okay, there we go. Now we're right. Okay. I'm sorry. How you doing, AJ?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. So AJ, you had mentioned this is the first time, and you decided to be a panelist on this show, that this is a good topic for you to speak about, and I'm going to ask if you could elaborate a little bit on that.
Yeah, I mean, growing up, I've had all the same experiences. I mean, I get it from different avenues between my race, my gender, what I identify as, what I'm attracted to, this, that, my skin color. It's every day. It's every day. It's society. It's within your own community. And it's just like, okay, where is that safe haven where it's just like, you know what? Here's my people. You know what I mean? Where there's that ease and you don't have that tension in that I don't know, that awkwardness, because it's like very, very awkward. But I mean, I'm also the kind that will walk into a room that does not want me and be like, well, guess what? You got me.
That's one thing I've noticed with a lot of people who have I don't want to say insecurities, but in a sense they are insecurities, that they just don't belong somewhere, is they put on an exterior that completely defies that feeling. And even when they're walking into that room, like you said, like, I'm here, deal with it. Inside you're like, I don't know what to do or say. I'm doing this to make myself stand out, per se.
Sometimes I feel like, I mean, as I'm getting older, that I found that, like, someone profound once said that I do not ask for respect. I demand it. And as I get older, that's where I find myself in. It's like, no, I don't care what is the social norm. I don't care about any of that. When it comes to me individually, this is how you will address. You know what I mean? There's finding my own voice as I'm getting older. I've always been bold, but now to kind of like back that.
All right. Well, about anybody in the comments, if you're out there, if you've ever dealt with, do you ever feel like you don't fit in certain things? How do you get through it? Do you put on that facade, or do you just, steer away from certain situations? Feel free to comment. We'd love to talk to you as well. I want to go to AJ on this one, actually, because you mentioned something in the opening that you said with gender identify sexuality, correct?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we've done on this show is we've dealt with people who dealing with gender, whether they're trans or gay rights and stuff like that. Do you ever feel, because this is the way I feel, is I'm kind of all over the map, per se, that I don't even fit in those groups, like the ones that are trying so hard to stand up for what I am, I still don't relate or fit in. Do you find yourself going through that?
Definitely. I mean, within the Q community, within the white community, within the black community. It's just like all parameters. It's just like, I don't fit in this. This is not quite what I believe. This is not quite how I feel like things should be. And I mean, some communities anger me more than others because it's just like, especially in the LGBTQ, it's like you take everything that is outward, you know, women's rights, misogyny, and racism, and all this, and you just amplify it, and boom, there's your community right there.
When
And
it
it's
comes
just like, I don't fit in here. Sorry.
Coach, no, you're fine. You're absolutely fine. First, I'm gonna take Ashley says when you're 6'2", 200-pound woman, you have trouble fitting. I can believe that. I'm 6'2", but I'm bigger than that. I'm 6'4", actually. But I hear you. But as a woman, that's very tall. That's a very large person right there. And does just your sheer presence make you feel awkward in different situations? That's a question I have for you, Ashley. Nikki, AJ brought up the women's rights things. Obviously, most women are for women's rights, correct? Do you ever feel that you don't fit into those categories either? Like you're happy where you are and that like groups go too far trying to make you apart and you just don't agree with half the stuff they're saying?
Yeah, it turns, no matter what that community is ultimately that their goal of fighting is for, it becomes very political and diluted and angry at times, and that's just not my vibe. I'm just very much like, oh, go to the beach and become one with the earth and collect my rocks and like just good energy. The people I gravitate, like it's like an energetic kind of vibe. If I see you shaking your head, AJ, like
that higher, I want to be on that higher frequency, and if you're not on that frequency, I don't know what to tell you.
I just got to walk away because ultimately it brings in a negative frequency and the two collide. They never can mesh. And maybe me talking like that, maybe that's, those are my people, the people that are on that same vibe, but you're my people too. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you see the person for the person they are and who they want to be. But that's something that a lot of people do who are in the situation where you just don't feel like you belong, and you get to see so many different people, such a variety out of it, that you accept everybody. But do you ever wish there was something you could strongly either get behind or be a part of, and then sometimes when you do, you almost reject that group because you realize everything it's about? Any examples from either one of you? Go ahead, Nikki.
I don't recall ever like reject. Well, maybe because this forum might be a good example, because yes, I found myself like looking and searching for my people, like just the people I fit in with, the people who could, understand me at my level, or, vice versa, whatever, just my people. Because it's been a very lonely road. I mean, certainly I have my children and I have my family, but, I'm a broader mind than just, a one-dimensional world. Like I need to explore. So that's what I've done. I've met many people in my days.
Go ahead, AJ. You look like you wanted to say something.
No, because it was just funny. Like I was watching Miss Epiphany.
Hey, Joe, how you doing?
Watching a show, and it did make me realize that's exactly it. It is so hard. It is lonely, I should say, when you know who you are. You know what I mean? And you're on such a level, and maybe you're, I don't know, let's take it to an extreme. Maybe you're extremely dramatic with everything and this and that. And it's just like,
well,
being yourself means being lonely sometimes, especially when you're against the status quo. And that can get lonely, and, different things inspire. But it also, at least for me, I reflect inward versus outwards. What do I need to do to fit in? It's just like, no, obviously I'm doing something right. You know what I mean?
You are. And I'm not saying that for any of us, the paths we take are the right paths to be yourself, and to be strong and be outward. But that doesn't sometimes change the emotional suffrage we have inside. and what we're dealing with. We have just found ways to essentially mask that. That gets us in the group. Now, Bill, I'm going to get to you because you haven't said much this show yet. So I'm going to ask you, being, the tall, more gruff fighting type of guy, just by the look of you, you said people, I see you that way sometimes. You said that before. Do you ever find yourself, and this goes for everybody as well, like trying to be pulled into a group just because of things like that when you really are not that person? And do you accept that just to be part of something?
So when I went to school, and Keith knows Hazel Park schools, I didn't fit in anywhere. So I wasn't a nerd, I wasn't a burnout, and I wasn't a jock. I was basically the smartest kid in school in junior high and high school, but I didn't fit in with anyone. But it wasn't anything that bothered me per se on the outside. But I'm sure, somewhere down deep inside it bugged me. And it was like the whole thing was sports. So when you grew up in Hazel Park, if you weren't a wrestler, doesn't matter. But when you tried to play other sports or do other things, if you didn't have a certain name, if your father wasn't on the city council, if he wasn't in charge of the director of sports, if he wasn't somebody like that, you weren't getting what you needed and given a chance to do something. So, I mean, and that's the way it was here in the city. I mean, there was guys, the principal's son in the high school was the worst basketball player there was, and he was always on the starting team.
Yeah. And that's tall people, especially. Ashley, just call me Bruce. I still love your name so much. Just call me Bruce Williams. 4 sisters, all over 6 feet. We are tight with each other. That's the thing, is because you have something in common you can bond over. And my question to you and everybody else on the panel is, do you ever discuss how you feel inside with these groups? Do you ever talk to them? Do you ever say, I just don't belong here? Or do you kind of just grin and bear it? Do you have a chance or any way to get stuff off your chest?
So, Keith, I'll kind of answer that for a minute. So all 5 of those girls, as you know, they're my goddaughters.
Yes.
So, and like I said, the shortest one is the one who made the comment about Anthony being the little guy or whatever on one show that one day. And she's 6 foot tall and weighs 190 pounds. And they are very good people, but they were looked at in school and judged for being Amazons, for being, different from everyone else. But as they were growing up, they lost their father, and that's why I was trying to talk to them. And they still call me and talk to me. In fact, one of them was trying to call me on the phone a while ago. I don't know who it was. They can't get on your website or whatever, can't get in to see this. I still haven't figured out how they're not doing that. But I told them, I said, you got each other, so as long as you guys get along. But you got to figure, 5 great big women, they're not going to get along all the time. But I said, you have each other. I said, you guys are, basically the same situation. I said, count on each other, talk to each other. I said, if you need someone to talk to me.
Do you ever feel like preconceived notions have something to do with eventually not fitting in? Like even in the sense of you begin to hate people that think in a group mentality, that think you've got to be part of a group or something because of how many times people have prejudged you.
So, it's, it is and it isn't. I mean, so, I bounced at the bars for all my life as a second job. So, and me, Keith, I'm a tall guy, but I'm not that big. I'm only 200 pounds, which right now I'm about 240 because I put on a whole bunch of weight, and it's around my middle, not where my chest used to be. But it was always because I worked at the bars, everyone's like, blah, blah, blah. And working at Jumpin' Jacks and Dazzles, it was a rough bar to go into. And if you did something wrong in there, you got thrown out hard. Well, I was always the voice of reason. I was the one that walked in there and said, hey, you need to calm down because these guys all are big monsters and they're going to beat your head off the wall going out the door. And everyone's like, oh, well, you're involved in that. And when something happened, the cops got called, they came to me first. And it was because I had the long hair, because I wore the hat, because the way, what clothes I wore and stuff like that. And they judged me first. And I tell them, I said, I'm just the doorman.
I get that. What about you two? Before you answer, though, I'm going to ask you two the same thing. But Joseph's here says fitting is very difficult, especially after just dealing with a lot of stuff. to get past it. How do you feel that stuff holds you back, Joe? That's my question to you. I'm wondering, is it something you're able to put in the back of your mind, or is it something you think you can move forward with, but other people are not letting you get past it? I'll wait for your response on that. Go ahead. Same with you two. Do you think those preconceived notions have anything to do with your feeling of not fitting in?
Maybe. Like, I definitely know it's some insecurities of my own, but also, again, like, if I gravitate to you, like, I can't even explain it. It's just a very energetic vibe. Like, if I can just feel it, like, I have very good feelers for people. Either I'm going to veer far away from you, or I'm just going to gravitate to you more. So.
Yeah.
What about you, AJ?
No, I feel the same way. I speak more towards now. I mean, I always have to say more from a past that got me to the perspective that I have now. But no,
well, please speak about the past too, because that's what a lot of people are dealing with right now. And knowing you got through it can actually help people sometimes.
Like, past for me, I was an in-between. I wasn't a jock. I wasn't a nerd. I was a choir geek. But in my friend circle, I had popular friends. I had nerdy friends. I had friends from the band, and I think it's always been, if I vibe with you, if your energy connects me, you know what I'm saying? And I lead with that. And I would say 99.9999% of the time, if I first meet you and I do not like you, there always turns out to be a reason that comes out later on. And it's like, that's why I never liked your ass.
It's so
and
true.
So,
it's so true.
It's that vibe, especially now. Nowadays, and just how crazy the world is, it's just like, I don't need no more craziness in my life than I already got. Like, I need like-minded people.
Right.
Level. And if that's not you, I don't know what to say.
Brandon says, me and all my friends are over 6'6". Our outlet is making the same stupid comments to short people that they make to us. And wow, you're really tall. Oh yeah, you're really short, which, to you seems that way. And they don't appreciate that as much. And it's true, because they don't like a return to them. And I was gonna ask something similar to that, Brandon, to anybody. Have you ever gotten a moment when you're in any group and you actually feel okay where you are and everything's great, and you either catch reflection or somebody says something, you're like, wow, I do not belong here, in your own head without anybody saying anything?
Oh God, yeah.
How do you get through that? How do you personally get over it? Is it something you feel like you got to leave for, or?
Yeah, sometimes. It depends on how bad the vibe is at the moment. I've certainly been in situations, I mean, the ones I'm thinking of in my head, I'd rather not say out loud, because it's possible they could be watching. But
we'll call
them
Jim and John.
Jim and John. Why is it got to be a Jim?
Because they called me Jim. I was like,
but yeah, I don't know. Like, and it's not that I've never had friends. My circle has always been very small, though. Like, growing up, I had that one best friend all the way through elementary school. And then I moved, and then I found another best friend. But amongst those, being the new person was always hard to fit in, especially when you're constantly moving. You don't fit the cookie cutter look, as a girl. So I had a big butt, like no boobs, and I was a little chunky. I wasn't the freaking, cheerleader Barbie doll, so I didn't fit into that circle. I was a band geek, so I made friends in that region. But, you're moving into groups of people who have come up from kindergarten with each other, and they've built bonds, and you're like, yeah, can I play with you? So stop it, Phil.
Ashley says, we don't fit in with women and don't with men. Being a woman of size and being in charge of men doesn't make them happy. Surprisingly, many people talking on here are very tall. As me and Bill are also taller, and I didn't think that was going to be as big of a topic, but it really is. It's amazing how that can do that to you.
Sure.
But do you
I
try
could say
it?
the same thing about shortness too. But
Yeah, well, the same thing. If you're short, I'm sure it's the same thing. My thing is always, I tend to forget. I can meet somebody 4 foot tall, and my height does not relate at all. And like I said, there's a moment, there's a reflection or something that I'm like, I look fucking ridiculous. Everybody is judging me at this point. Everybody is looking at me because how stupid I look, and nobody may even be thinking that, but it's what runs in my head because, you know, I'll pass reflection. I'm like, I'm a fucking behemoth next to this person.
mm-hmm.
You know, you're talking sometimes a 2.5 foot difference in people, and it gets really hard to associate. But what I want to know is, have you ever been part of a group you appreciate? Because you mentioned like the Band Geek, and you mentioned Choir Geek, AJ. But have you ever been in one of these things and like been like the opposite person? Like the people who bother you, where you've talked to them. I'll give an example. Like, I'm a Star Wars geek, and I know Brandon likes this stuff too because he's been on our show before. And I'll be like, yeah, I love Star Wars. And they start talking. They start the background shit and everything. I'm like, damn, you're a motherfucking nerd. Like, instantly something you love, you're actually taking the opposite post to, because you're like, this is just too far. This is not me.
No, because anytime I engage in conversation with somebody, you know, beyond hi, how are you? It's probably like to be a meaningful get to know you conversation. So I'm not going to feel like I've gone like this is too much. If we relate to something, if we can relate to something, if they know more than me, hey, then I can learn something.
Well, in a sense, I agree with that, but I don't think it always works that way. At least not with me in some of those situations. Like, people are too far down the rabbit hole, in a sense, to the point that I can't have this conversation with you because I'm a fan of something or I'm into something. I'm not that into that, you know. Like,
yeah.
I don't get it, and that's what sometimes pushed away. And for me, and this is wrong of me, but it sometimes gives me a bad image of all those people, using the Star Wars for example. Star Wars nerds, like, wow, if I get talking to a Star Wars nerd, they're gonna know so much.
I get what you're saying. Like, it's like Comic-Con people and like those. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
You know, like if I said honestly, Nikki, if I said I collect rocks too, which is true, I do. I like neat rocks and stuff like that. I go talking to you, and you're starting, and you've got so much into it and so deep and all the stuff you do. And no, I'm like, well, I can't talk about collecting rocks. I guess I don't belong around this person either, because I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
I'll teach you.
And I'm always willing to learn, and I think that's important that people are willing to learn. Bill or AJ, though, has that happened at all for you at any point where you feel that you think you want to be a part of something and you realize how much it means to be a part of that? And talking about like the communities you were earlier, AJ, is something that you probably realize too when you look deep into those communities. Like, I don't want to be associated with this community. All right,
that's
I think there's something there.
That's a yes.
Listen, okay, that's putting me on the spot, but I'm not afraid to go there. No, I mean, listen, again, part of the LGBTQ, but I don't fit. It's like, I have come across, I am too femme for most, not butch enough for others, too butch for others, not feminine. It's like, bitch, which way do you want it? How do you want it? Like, god dang. And it's just like, no, this is I learned from a very, very early age, and that's even trying to figure out my own sexuality, my own identity, that this was just not meant for me. Like, there are certain people that are very cool and very, again, it goes to that like-mindedness. It's kind of like, you know, people who grew up with eclectic music. You may not appreciate every song in every genre, but you have samples and stuff that you like, that you can say, hey, I really like this. It's kind of like that. Growing up biracial, multiracial, I should say, same thing. I got flack from both ends, from black, from white, from And it's just like, where the hell do y'all want me to stand?
So for you, it's not necessarily sometimes in those situations about you fitting in as much as being rejected to where you should fit in, or you
Right.
want to because you feel you're still part of it. I don't think a lot of people realize that. Do you, like I asked previously, is this something you ever discuss with people, or is it just something you say, fuck y'all?
Sometimes I'll have teachable moments, what I call teachable moments. It's like, look, like at work, when it comes to hair, it's like, look, I am a guy. That is true. But however, if I was a black female, would you be asking me this kind of in-depth questions about my hair? No, because you automatically know that's a taboo. You just don't do that. So it's like, let me teach you. This is how you approach this situation. This is what you say. This is what you do not say. And those who are willing to learn, I mean, one out of five, hey, I just changed someone's perspective. I'll take my win.
Yep.
So to me, sometimes it's just about those teachable moments, because sometimes people really just don't know. That's what I've come across too. People just don't know, and they don't know how to ask. They grew up in a little bubble, and now, like, in this day and age, everything's exploded. Gays are equally represented on TV. You got blacks that are starting to become just all these changes going on, and you grew up in this era where it's just like, this is all foreign to me. So you gotta have a little bit of compassion with it too.
I mean, I have the compassion sometimes, but I'm not above, looking at some of these people in some of these communities and doing this CMT going, damn, you are fucking gay. Like beyond the kind of gay I want to associate with, because I'm not that person. And if I hang with this group, as much as I respect you too, there is an inside part of me that says, I don't want to be seen as this person because, first of all, I'm being fake to myself because I don't agree with everything they're standing for. And I don't want the people around me to think I agree with things I don't stand for.
And I think in those situations, it's like, I think it's important because you can have those differences and still find a spot. It's kind of like,
having a Republican
friend and having a Democratic friend actually be friends. Can talk about politics. It can get heated, but at the end of the day, you're still friends.
No, me and Nikki unfriend each other all the time.
No, we don't.
I'm kidding. We don't at all.
But you know what I mean? It's the mindset into which you go into it. Now, yes, can I say, like, there are some that absolutely bloody drive me nuts? Yes. I respect their fact that they do it. Yes. The only thing, like I say, like, this situation is kind of like how I say when people ask me, do you ever judge? I don't judge. What I judge and what I can say is off of your character. Not by what you do, who you lay with, what you do for a living. That's none of my business. It's not my concern. However, do you fit into my energy? Do you fit into what I want for me around me? If that is a yes, then cool. If not, I respect your side. You respect my side. We can still sit at the same table.
Makes sense. Brandon says people think. Go ahead, Bill. I'll get to Brandon afterwards. Go ahead.
Okay, so no disrespect to you, but just so you know, it's part of the human person that everyone judges. You can't help it. It happens. It's automatic. No matter what you try to do, no matter what you try to say, your first look, your first conversation with someone, unfortunately, you do judge. But you may, after talking to a person or looking at that person for a moment and see how they act and everything like that, then your mind changes. But everyone automatically judges. And Keith, get your bottle ready. Take the cap off. So my first thing I was going to go to was, so when I quit working at the bars and I was going to the bars and going to dart tournaments and watching these guys play darts, and I never played in the dart tournaments. All right. Now, I'm an old man. I'm 58 years old. In 1985, 86, and 87, I was national bullseye champion darts in Chicago. Okay. None of these young guys around here knew any of that. And when I would go to the dart tournaments, my guys that I knew that knew me would run the dart tournaments, and I didn't play, but I would sit and watch. And it's like when you go to play blackjack, okay? You sit there and you watch the people who are sitting there playing. and you decide whether you want to sit down at that table or not. Because if they're taking the dealer's break card, or if they're, blowing stuff out of proportion. And when I finally played in the tournament the one night, none of these people would talk to me because I wasn't playing darts. When I finally played in the tournament the one night and I smoked everybody and they didn't even have a chance and came back the next week and smoked everybody, then all of a sudden everyone wanted to talk to me. And I turned and talked. There was a bunch of them standing there. They were talking to me and stuff, and I turned and talked to them. I said, honestly, I was here 4 weeks ago, and I said, you didn't want to talk to me. And now all of a sudden, because I kicked your ass at darts, you want to talk to me? And I had the same type of thing happen when I hanging out with my gay friend. All right? I became a friend with Kathy, and she is a gay woman, and she's my friend, and she's still my friend, and I don't even talk to her that much anymore, but she's my friend. But her people all judged me because I was a straight guy. I was older than Kathy by 20 years, which means I was older than most of them by more than that. And they all judged me for being around when Kathy had a party or we were at the bar and stuff like that. But when they got to know me and stuff, and then saw what I did for Kathy in helping my friends and protecting my friends, well, then all of a sudden was anytime they had a problem, it was, we're going to call Bill. And I was like, you're going to call me. You don't talk to me when we're out and about or we're at Kathy's house. I said, but you're going to call me because you got a problem with somebody? Never understood it.
I got, you brought up a great analogy. I'll get to you in a second, AJ, and I want to get to the comment here from Brandon. But you brought up a great analogy there, Bill, was the blackjack table, and seeing how people are playing. And if you don't want to hit that table, you just step away until you see people playing or a table running the way you want to. And it works the same like slot machines and stuff. That was actually a great analogy. And you are also right about the judgment thing. When stop fighting, kids.
Yeah, it didn't work.
No, it didn't. But you're right about the judgment thing, because I always like to say that I don't judge people. That I don't judge people. But the truth is, you're right. We all do to one point. And like, I'll see somebody down on his luck and, or anything like that. Now, I don't judge them as being a bad person. That's true. But I instantly think that something happened. And I instantly think, certain lines of how something might have happened or what got them to that point. So regardless how we react to it, we do judge people to a point. And that is a good thing to say. I'm glad you brought that up because it's something I do myself. But now I want to get to Brandon's comment. Because people think that I can't hear them when they talk about how tall I am. I didn't think so either because I didn't think sound traveled at those heights. But either way, I just make it very obvious that I heard them. It makes them far more uncomfortable than it makes me. And when you make somebody uncomfortable, this is something that I wanted to hit on because I do the same thing, actually, when people are saying jokes and I make it obvious and it makes them uncomfortable. I don't feel good about that, though, because I'm not that kind of person. I feel good in a sense that they are feeling that way because they did something wrong. But I don't like generally to make people uncomfortable just because they don't understand something. And do you ever feel that way is my question. And how about any of you? Because I'm sure we've all reacted in similar situations in a similar way.
Keith, think about the bar scene. Okay? So you got a guy that's like Brandon type, 6'6", 6'7", whatever, and they walk in a bar. So if they're someone who looks intimidating, people will either stay away from them or walk over to them and try to make them their very best friend in the whole world right away. And it's the stupidest thing, instead of just having a conversation with somebody and just saying, hey, how's it going? As you're walking by or whatever, or hey, you want to play a game of darts, or you want to shoot pool or anything like that. If you want to, you don't go up and try to make someone your best friend automatically because you're scared of them, you're intimidated by them, and you shouldn't shy away from them. You just go about your business.
What about you, Nikki? You seem to agree during that conversation or that monologue, whatever you want to call it.
Who's yours or Bill's?
Mine or Bill's. But mine, when I was saying it makes you feel bad to make people feel that way. You seem to really agree there.
Well, yeah, because I was just thinking of instances where, like, I've mommed and made my kids feel bad. I don't like making people feel bad. I'm like a people pleaser. I see my husband sneaking up on me. I'm a people pleaser, so I try to make people happy. You can get in here. because my phone is charging. Because sorry, you guys,
No,
because
you're
it was
fine.
dying. But I'm a people pleaser, so I try to. I'm like the mom of the group, the like, oh, let's all just get along kind of person. I don't try to belittle people, even if I hear them talking shit about me, and I have heard people talking shit about me. Maybe I just don't have enough kahunas behind me to say something when I hear things like that. But I don't like confrontation. I don't like making a scene. I like to just be the mouse in the back corner that is really smart.
Brandon replied, said, no, he enjoys it. He says, you want to whisper out someone, deal with the weird feeling when I hear you. And I look at it a little differently. Because, again, what you're saying is true. I think if they make the joke, them feeling that way on a global scale, I think is a good thing, But for me personally to cause that, see, I've been hurt by words. I've been damaged by what people say. I have said things uninformed where I have been hurt because of. And I think of these people like they're just trying to make people laugh. They're trying to create a joke. Yes, it's at my expense. And I'm not going to lie. I've done it myself, created jokes at other people's expenses. I don't need to make them feel so bad because they don't probably understand how much somebody deals with this stuff. And that's why it's hard for me to combat somebody saying that. Now, don't get me wrong. If somebody starts yelling shit or, they're going overboard, yeah, I'm going to put them in their fucking place. But just sometimes saying things are here in the background, it's like, I'm not going to lie. I've been there. I've been around groups of friends. We've seen somebody. We've poked fun. I people watch for a living. Obviously, I've had my share too. Just because I overhear them doesn't mean I've got to make them always feel like a piece of shit. But I actually admire some people that can do that too. Like, because I don't think he's right or wrong in this situation. Because, I think they should feel that way. I just can't bring myself to do it. AJ, you didn't say anything on that. We're going to get a little deeper in a moment, but go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Pick anything.
We're back to the sex show. You said a little deeper. So.
Damn it. Damn it. You and your sex show.
I will say
that bottle's been empty for a half hour, Keith. Grab that other one.
It's got about a half shot left.
Well, you're not drinking much out of it because it only had that little bit in there when you showed it first. So.
Right. Where's the brand new bottle? You opened at the first.
Got it right here.
There we go. No, I would go back and revisit what I said when I say I don't judge people. What I mean in my wording of it is you may have a thought. It's acknowledging that thought and bringing it to life versus, okay, no, that's not how I want to be. That's not, you know what I'm saying? There's a conscious level to say, I'm going to judge here. I'm not going to judge here. Basically, I don't tend to lifestyle or anything. I just character says a lot to me. People put a lot of it's like first impressions. I don't give two shits about first impressions because 9 out of 10 times when I meet you that second time, that is not how you are. So sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. In my experience, 99% what I first see is not what I get. But there are people, what you see is what you get, or it's a little deeper, or, you know what I mean? As far as I don't like making people feel awkward or anything, but if it's at my comfortability, like if I'm getting to a point where I feel uncomfortable, if it's between my comfortability and your comfortability, I'm gonna choose mine.
Sorry. He says, poking people get poked. I'm not a show. I'm just tall. Move along. And I do enjoy good banter. Like, I would rather definitely somebody say to my face the joke. First of all, I may find it funny. I'm the first person to laugh a joke at my expense. I don't care. If it's funny, it's allowed, and I want to banter back and forth. So I'm good with that. And the whispers can be a bad thing. And Brandon also said his mom is a 6'2" officer in the Air Force, and she is very intimidating. She has an interesting relationship with men. It's fun to watch. And again, I like watching it too. I like the back and forth. I like to see people stand up for themselves. I believe it's important. And my thought really wasn't about people standing up or being that intimidating, because I think they should. But some people feel bad about it. Like, I wonder when somebody has put me down, the thought that runs in my head is, what happened to you to make you want to do that to somebody else?
Mhm.
That is the thought in my head. Not I'm insulted, not I'm mad, not anything, because people joke all the time. My first thought is, you must be sad. You something
Yes.
must have happened that you think you got to do that. So I don't always want to push. And we discovered on this show, and sometimes the people that are very mean and very bullying even, or make fun of other people, are so unhappy with themselves. And I always worry, if I hit them back and too hard or embarrass them too bad, am I pushing them over an edge I don't want to push them?
Yeah.
And that is a fear I really have, because I think that people who choose to make fun of everybody they see one way or another are very unhappy, usually inside one, in some fashion. You also got your people
And
who
you
just think
don't
they're
know how
comedians.
much that is.
Yeah, and it scares me to sometimes put them in their place, and I have been guilty of that as well. Some of them I became friends with after a while, you know, because I did put them in their place, and we talked, and I found out about them, and I helped them, and that was great.
Nice try. It was the other way around.
That's also possible. So you agree with that, Nikki, obviously. Well, you're messing with your headphones. That's okay. We'll get to you in a second.
No, I'm good. No, I'm good. Just Craig got in the car because we're gonna have he's bringing me some medicine, and you didn't sit on my glasses. Okay. And I was gonna put my other headphone in his ear so he could join the discussion, but never mind. It doesn't reach.
So
He's shy.
I was
He's
mentioning
shy.
that
Huh?
you seem to really, I saw you shake your head a lot when I had said that sometimes I ask myself, what happened to this person? Is that the kind of thoughts
Me?
that run through your head? Yeah, when somebody insults me or says something behind my back.
Yeah.
So are
Yeah,
you
definitely,
offended
like-
first, or?
I mean, yeah, it depends on what they say. I've definitely had moments. I used to work at Dugan's Irish Pub, and the kitchen manager at the time, I was a really hard worker, was like, you know, in my younger years, but I was a really hard worker and worked side by side her. But I believe she was interested in me sexually. And I'm not saying that I don't roll that way, but she wasn't my type. And I didn't reciprocate the same, you know, gesture. And she became like, and she was like 10, 12 years older than me. She became very bitter. And I would hear her like talking shit about me, just things she would have never said before, like the quality of my work and stuff. And I would first be offended, and then second think, you know, like it took me a minute to realize what her problem was, but I immediately thought, what the fuck is her problem? Like, is she having a bad day? Like, I don't know.
Do you ever, and this is kind of a weird question, but it is actually how I react. Do you ever find yourself, in a sense, attracted to, and I don't mean like sexually attracted to, but I said attracted to, Bill turned his head, attracted to people who, in a sense, put you down, not in a way or say bad things about you. And I don't mean in a way like sexually, or I want to get, you know, but I want to find out about you. Do you ever find yourself,
You know,
anybody in that situation?
Yeah, like in my younger years, before I was like old enough to realize who I was, sort of thing, like to like before I really became who I am now, I gravitated to the worst of the worst. That was just because I just did it. I was young and naive, and my mind was very clouded, and I was not thinking properly. Let's just like I was a young stupid girl and very naive, and I fell for a lot of stupid shit. And now I'm much older, and thank God for my husband. He's definitely toughened my skin because of, you know, situations he went through with me, with my ex, that I had to toughen my skin to be able to get through it. So I've grown a lot in the past 15 years.
How about you two at the bottom there? Any have you ever found yourself more attracted to finding out about the person than being insulted and offended? I'll get to Ashley's comment
All
in
the
a
damn
moment.
time.
Hold on.
All the time.
Really, Bill?
I was never the best looking guy anywhere around, but I made it a thing when I was young that if some girl walked past me and said, "What are you trying to prove?" or "Who do you think you are?" or whatever, because I wore the Aussie hat, I had the long hair and stuff like that, I made sure that I aggravated the hell out of them at the bar for the rest of their lives until they wanted to come talk to me and sit with me. And actually, with the women, I started going out with them at this point in time. So,
Well, what about you, AJ?
I think yeah, but I think it's just like this need of wanting
you're supposed to say, "Yeah, what he said," and then
wanting to make the world a better freaking place. Like, you know, when you come from a place of brokenness, you understand it. You know, so it's like,
Yeah.
what's making you think in such a way? And do you know that it doesn't have to be this way?
That is my thing, and this isn't to tell people, especially people like Brandon who does this thing or anything. That I don't want to tell anybody they're right or wrong because you're not. But it's a chance to look inside of people and see what actually goes on, you know, and what is actually in their head when either you do the things or what drive you to do that. Ashley does say taller people make people uneasy, and short people such as dwarfism make some people uneasy, or they make fun of them. And there are, especially with dwarfism, there's people who have like literally fears of that. They actually fear smaller people, and tall people get it too. Unfortunately, I'm fat, so fat usually outweighs tall, like literally. So, but I mean, people are more prone to make fun of that than my height. But I mean, the height's there too, for sure. And she also says the way you carry yourself makes a huge difference. And that is something that everybody watching and everybody on this panel and everybody listening should pay attention to, because it's very true.
I taught her that. Just so you know, I taught her that.
Yeah. That's all Bill. It's all Bill. Good job, Bill. There's your props. Look
Bravo,
at that. You got props
bravo,
for me.
Bill.
So I told all her sisters. So all her sisters, you know, they had, well, I don't know who's watching this, so I'll just say there's a couple of the girls that still deal with depression because of their height, because of their size. And I hope they don't get mad at me about this. But I told them, I said, the way you carry yourself and the way you present yourself in public to other people is how they're going to judge you. And I said, if you walk up to them and you're flexing your arms and stuff like that, and these girls are all, like I said, they're all big girls, and they're not overweight girls, they're muscles. No lie. And I told them, if you walk up to them like that, I said, they're going to think that. I said, guys are going to get at you like that. I said, if you walk up to somebody or else they see you when you're out shopping and you help an older person with their cart or something like that, I said, people will look at you in a different way.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
and go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, I was just going to say this should be a conversation Greg is in, because I feel like he could fit into the conversation, being that so my husband was born with only one ear, or only one whole ear, and then just a tiny part of another one. So as you can imagine, kids are so fucking cruel, and growing up, I can't imagine it was very easy. So, I mean, really, it's his story to tell, not mine, but yeah.
I can tell part of it too.
Yeah.
And I'll actually give a little in depth, and I hope he doesn't mind here, you know, and this is where I'm saying I don't think people always mean to be so rude. It was Greg you know, we've had your name as Collie and his Collie, so it was Greg Cauliflower ear. You know, Greg Cauliflower is what people used to call him. And the thing is, it became such a nickname that people didn't think twice about calling. Some didn't even comprehend the reason why he was called that. It just became a nickname. And when that hits so many times, it can lead you down a very big path that can lead you to depression, which Bill had mentioned. And I want to add on here, how do I fit in? Is the question from the topic for the show. And the answer is being in front of you this whole time. And we'll see if you can figure out what that is. So aside from that, I want to delve into the next part. And this is where we're going to go a little bit deeper on here. How low has not being able to fit in anywhere we're all adults now. We're all, well over 3 decades old. How has not being able to fit in affected you before you learned to cope with things? What was the deepest it took you? Has it ever taken you down to the point of close enough to the point of no return?
Yes.
Yes.
All
Not
right.
directly, I don't think directly related. Well, yeah, I guess it was directly related to fitting in. It was just like a mesh of things. But yes, fortunately enough, I'm still here. But
Let me go to the 2 comments, then I'm going to get to AJ's response, mine, and more from you, Nikki, and if Bill has something. Brandon says, he learned a while ago to cut people out who don't help my mental health, family included. Toxic equals cut. And that is something that I preach 100% on here. I do believe that's important. If there's something toxic in your life, the only way to rid yourself of something toxic is to eliminate the toxicity.
yeah,
There's nothing else. If you are around it, any drug user will tell you that 100%. When the drug is toxic in their life, they can't be around anything associated with that if they ever hope for a better life. And wanting to fit in and all that, those are all mental things that we have to deal with that it's like being on a drug sometimes. It's something you think you need. You need to grab onto people. You need to do this. You need to have everything you want in front of you or by your side, when really what you need is yourself.
yes.
Without the influence. And he also says he's got core friends. I don't feel the need to deal with a person who makes me feel like shit just to maybe get to know them better. And that's a great point. And you know what? As much as I do that, sometimes I do sometimes hate myself for it because I know better. I'm like, I shouldn't be doing this. This person isn't worth it. But there's always something inside me that says, you don't know this person. And everybody's different. If I expected everybody to be that way, this would be a pretty fucking boring world.
True.
All right. And Ashley said, first meet judgment is important. And then we were talking about the judgment earlier, and that's true. You do take a judgment. We don't judge on the show, but we base it on what you say. Like, you're not a bad person because you like this or do this or this. But judgment is important. I'll get to Brandon's next comments in a moment. Let me go back to Nikki. Yes.
I just want to say something really quick because I keep hearing the term judgment, and every time I hear it, I mean to speak up and say, I prefer to call it perception because judgment sounds so negative. Because not necessarily when I first see you, am I looking at you in a negative way, but I'm looking at you as my here and now perception of you, which isn't necessarily the entire you or the true you, depending on the circumstance or the situation or the atmosphere or what have you. But first perception is, yes, very important.
And that's a good way to put it. Judgment does have a bad annotation to it because it's believed that judging somebody is judging them to be bad, and it's not.
Yeah.
But you're right. Perception is a much milder, nicer word to use with that. I appreciate that. I'll try to remember that. I won't, but I'll try. All right. Before we continue, I've got another panelist joining us. Finally made it. Please welcome Jane. How you doing?
I'm doing great now that I'm here.
All
Hey,
right.
gang.
Welcome,
It's too
Jane.
late. Take her off. Take her off. It's too late.
This
Take
has
her
been
off.
fun. Yeah. Hey, gang.
So, Jane, have you caught the show so far or any of it? Here's your little rough time getting here.
I was, to make a long story short, I was in a bit of an accident. Everything's good. I'm good. Everything's okay. I'm a bit hurt, but so I just now got down, and then I tried to catch on about 10, 15 minutes ago. Internet was down, so I had to go fix that. So I've been all over trying to get everything all handled. So I'm a bit behind.
Okay, well, we're gonna not ease you in here because we're getting
That's
to the
fine.
deep part.
It
So
wouldn't
I'll
make much sense if you did.
But pretty much, I'll let you answer all in one fell swoop, and then we're gonna go around the panel with what we were originally talking about.
Okay.
Have you ever felt like you haven't really fitted in? What were those times like? What do you do? And that will delve into right now. We're talking about how low of a point has that taken you in your life, and can you talk about that?
Oh, yeah. So there was a good couple of points, and a lot of big transitional points, I guess I would say, where I had that feeling of not fitting in. I guess for me, some things I can remember, some obvious points like with school. but I've also had that issue in different workplaces or different environments and different communities that have been either through school or outside of it. Some of it due to being trans, other issues to it. Can come from a lot of like internal issues that I may have, or just really not having that feeling of belonging in the type of environment that I'm in either. So I guess in a few instances to try to make it a bit quick to not get too lost. And something that has been very helpful, at least this past year, because that's where it really hit me the most. This feeling of not really having a belonging. Is just trying to find that time to really build and try to figure out where to go next. That's something I've been trying to figure out up till now, to just really figure out where I can belong in everything, I guess.
Has it ever taken you like really, really far that you've, even if you didn't do it, have you entertained thoughts that have been largely negative?
Yes, less than is yes.
It has.
Self-destructive.
There, that's a
Yeah.
good one.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good one, yeah.
I've had those tendencies a good number of times in the past, and admittedly, it has caused a lot of issue for me. It's caused some heartbreak for family and friends. It's definitely been an upward journey when I have been at those lower points, and I'm very grateful for those around me who have helped me through that.
That's good. Back to the judgment real quick. Brandon says use your perception to form a judgment. I mean, that's true, but what she was getting at was just a nicer way of saying that sometimes, because we've been saying the word judgment a lot, and I think Nikki's right. I do think that it makes it sound negative, especially with the kind of definition that word has gotten over the years. Judge is always bad, and not you, but specifically in general. And Ashley responded to that, says, I think judgment and perception are different. Judgment is what you do after talking or watching for a while. Perception being what you do at first sight. That is true, but I think what we're saying is initially judging somebody by their appearance. So we're comparing it to like talking at the first sight. Maybe their appearance, maybe their the face they're making, maybe the way they sing, maybe the way they're dancing. Who knows what it happens to be? But and it's weird that those two words, because there is such a thing as a preconceived judgment. So they do go together.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I was going to say, and she's going to yell at me when I say this, I think Ashley's got it backwards. It should be the other way around with what she was saying if you want to try to understand it. I think you perceive someone when you first see them, and that's your perception of them. And then once you talk to them and everything like that, then you have a judgment of who they are or what they are in your head, maybe. So
That's exactly what she said, I think.
Yeah,
Because she was mimicking what I said.
I think she said, I can't see that, so it's too damn small. But I thought when Keith read it, it was the other way around. So
either way, I think it's a bad idea to instantly, judge somebody, but we do it to a point. We all do.
Says the man.
We're human.
Says the man who the first time he met me says, "There's my nemesis right there."
And you are. What the fuck is this? And you are my nemesis. And
First
you are.
time he met me.
All right. I want to.
That
let me hit
wasn't,
Brandon's.
That wasn't judgment. That was instinct.
It was. Hey,
Nailed it.
It was. I was outside smoking a cigarette. He wasn't even there on time, and he pulled up, and I just said, "You show up late all the time," or something like that. And
Yeah,
he
you
just
judged
turned
me.
And
and looked at
that's all Keith needed.
And
That's all.
Judge me. Yep.
And he goes, "Oh, and it's you." And my friends are like, "You who?" And he goes, "You're my nemesis," or something like that. When he walked in the bar, it's like,
That
oh,
was
there
the
you go.
word. All right. Last of Brandon's comments. I really want to get back to how deep it takes people, because I don't think people always see that. He says, I was an Army brat with the last name of Funky. Kids are mean. I went to 5 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, and 5 high schools. I got really used to not caring if people didn't like me. And that's the sad part about it. And that's kind of the point I was taking here with all of it is we're built, we're constantly I don't know how to say it, but battered with all the stuff coming at us to the point we just give up and we just don't care. And it's really about the times prior to reaching that, where it takes you to reach that. What makes you build that hard shell on you that you just don't care? And sometimes it's a good decision not to care, but what brought you to that point? And he said he had a basketball team. I didn't really need more friends, especially because I was most likely leaving in a few months anyway. Always knowing you're going to be away from something does help. But everybody, human nature, wants somebody to connect with.
Yeah.
They want somebody to be there. That's something, even if we pride ourselves of leaving groups and leaving people behind, we want that connection. Now I'm going to go to AJ, because I know you were going to be next on there anyway. I would like, if you can, talk about the lowest point this may have taken you at some point.
Oh, Lord. I need to start drinking on this one. God, low point.
Wait, was AJ sleeping?
He was hoping I forgot.
Right. No, I mean, I'm comfortable talking about it now because that was like years ago. I think the lowest point was being in my room with a knife to my chest.
What drove you to that point?
At the time, it was religion and just school itself. I felt like with the church, that was at a point where our mom had made a decision. Okay, I gave you a foundation. Now it's up to you to figure out what the hell you believe. At least I gave you something. And just detoxing from that and just trying to figure out, okay, if I was put here, why am I saying all this, just this double stuff going on? And it was just to a point, it's just like, I just don't want to be here anymore, man. So, luckily, a little divine intervention, and I mean, that changed my whole perspective. But I mean, definitely, I definitely have many lows. I mean, it took me to a lot of extremes. A cutter, I had weight issues, I had eating issues. I mean, it really takes an effect.
It does. Have you ever talked about that with anybody? Like, aside from people who may have been involved in that moment, who obviously are aware, have you ever discussed that with anybody or talked about anybody that they drove you to that point?
Not until I was older. I mean, a lot of people back in school didn't realize I went through more shit before I was 18 than a lot of people have in a lifetime. And it's like, nobody knew about that unless you were literally in my inner circle. And I mean,
that's what I was thinking. And that's the thing, is a lot of times the people that push you to that point have no idea they've ever done it.
No.
And
I don't think any of the people back in high school and middle school, and that's where it's like, if you were to come to me today and be like, hey, what's up? I'd be looking at you like, I'm sorry, you didn't talk to me then. You were a complete... And I get people change, but the impact on that, and maybe now more of an intellectual thinker, now that it's coming out my mouth, maybe there might be a conversation had, an understanding of like whatever hell you were going through, that you decided to put my life through hell because your life was hell. Let's have a conversation.
I agree with that. Ashley, by the way, says Keith, my Uncle Bill is everyone's nemesis in some way or another. Very true. I understand that. I've learned that. No, I agree with her 100%. You know, I believe that there's a lot of people out there, and this is where, people like Brandon, I'm going to say. And Brandon is not this kind of person as far as I've ever known him. Don't get me wrong. But he dealt with it so much, he eventually just said, fuck it. I am who I am. Fuck you. Going on. This shit, goes right off my shoulders. Doesn't bother me at all. And I think there's a lot of people, like the people probably who have done stuff to you, AJ, to drive you to that point, that if they knew they were pushing you to that point, they would never do it. But they've been through it so much, they see it as they're just words. They're not really harming this person. They're not really doing this individual. Just because this person happens to be alone, because they're not part of the cool kids. They're not part of the jocks or anything like that. I can tease them, make fun of them. It has absolutely no effect. And sometimes because they're hardened. And that's why it's important that people see what this does to people, when they're meant to feel outcasted. And I'm sorry, but your school years and your high school years especially are the beginning of definition for you in life. Mm-hmm. If you fuck those up, they're going to be with you forever. No matter how much you overcome them, they're still going to be there. I'm going back to Nikki because you briefly hit on it, and then we got with a few more comments. And I want to go back to you. Can you tell me about your story in that situation?
I mean, and we've talked about it before. I mean, I've taken myself to low places at many different points in my life. It feels like, it was like probably in my 20s, I want to say, is when it started. And it was really all the people I chose to put myself around. Just led me to a point like you feel so like hopeless that you would just rather be gone than stay.
That's
But sorry, go ahead.
we've come through this. We've come through this. I know this. So
Yeah. I mean, I'm here today. So obviously, anything I've, felt or, the places I've gone, there's a reason I'm still here. And I learn, I know this now. Like I understand that, that's not solving a problem. It's creating more, if not anything else. And now that my sons, well, all my children, because all my children, both my children's fathers have passed away, so I'm all my children have in their parents, and so I feel very responsible to take care of myself and make sure I'm here for them. So
one of the things that has always bothered me, especially over the last 15 years, is having lost everybody pretty much in my life aside from my brother. And the parents is a big one. And talk about not fitting in. The minute people talk about their parents or have their parents to turn to, I instantly know you don't get me.
mm-hmm.
I can't have this conversation. I am truly alone. You don't get it, do you? I'm going to use my brother for an example too. Sometimes with having family, because I pretty much am alone, pretty much in my house all the time. Is the lack of being able to come home from work and say, it's just a rough day, I'm going to go to bed. That is something to cherish when you don't have somebody to say it to. So there's a lot of things that impact people if they just don't feel like fitting in and feel totally alone. And I will say, even though high school was a bitch, I'd say a little earlier than high school, I started coming to my own high school, but still fitting in. When you feel alone and isolated, then why does it even matter that you're there? Why do you need to be breathing? Why do you need to be living? And that's when we entertain those thoughts. And when people push others away, they are feeding those thoughts into other people. And that's what a lot of people have to realize and understand. But you get through it and eventually become stronger. We all got through this. But there's people not on the panel for a reason. There's people not watching the show for a reason because they didn't get through it. And we got to remember that. We got to remember the effect we have on people. And Ashley says, mother is your best friend if you let her. Is your first and best friend if you let her. For some people, it's their father too, but that's very true because they're the people who are in your life the entire time you exist until they don't. And they do become your best friend. Bill, Strongman Bill, you've been quiet. Is there a dark side to Bill?
Well, you said something earlier. You said, people do stuff and maybe they don't realize what they're doing to you because whatever reason. And something we haven't touched on, and it's something that you deal with in elementary school, junior high school, and high school, and even in life, is the people who don't want you to fit in. And when I'm talking about the bullies, because that's what they do, and that they don't think you fit in, so they don't want you to fit in, and they will bully you as long as you let them.
And they're followers, and the groups that these bullies in are groups of followers, because the bully knows that the bully makes you look like an ass, an idiot, a nincompoop, a nitwit, a twit, a nerd, a geek, whatever they want to make you feel like. That group will not accept you because
it goes like that. It goes like that forever until you go to your 10-year reunion, and in the parking lot, you beat the shit out of the guy that bullied you in school, and then you leave and you feel better.
Okay.
You feel better. You do feel better, but it doesn't fix the past.
Yeah, and I don't think it's the same for girls either.
You can't fix the past. You can't fix the past. So no matter what they've done to you, it's like everyone has said on here, little kids, all right, are cruel as hell. And most of that has to do with the fact that their parents are the same way and they didn't teach their kids better on how to treat kids and other people and stuff in school.
Like
And
I say, a lot of
it is
times
what it is.
I don't put the fault. I don't believe it's often the fault of the person doing this, because sometimes it is the parents. It's how they were raised. It's how they were treated. The fact that they've realized, one of the best and worst things my mom could have ever done to me is probably tell me they're just fucking words.
Yeah.
Because it did teach me to let them roll off my shoulders, but it also, for a lot of people, including myself a little bit, made me assume that everybody else has that knowledge, that everybody else can just rub it off too and take it as humor.
Yeah.
But before you continue, Bill, Nikki, you said it's different for girls. Explain that.
Just as, girls don't think to well, maybe some do, but going to a 10-year reunion and beating her ass. I mean, I don't think that's ever crossed my mind, to be honest, but
it has.
Oh, it should have.
maybe Tequila Nikki will consider that sometime. No, I'm kidding. No, I just
get hold of my goddaughter and let her go with you with your next family
I've
reunion
never
or whatever.
been. No, I've never been, Bill, because I went to 5 different high schools. So which fucking reunion do you go to?
Go to them all.
What friend?
Go to them all. Go to them all.
No, because here's the thing.
Hey, there's 5 sisters. Go to them all. Take one sister of each one.
I mean, I got 5
It'll be
sisters.
fun to watch. Just saying.
No, I mean,
okay.
No.
Okay.
I just
but but the thing is Bill, that could be a fix, and that's great. But why did you beat the fuck out of the person?
It's not a fix. It's not a fix. But honestly, what happened is me and the only guy I talked to in high school still at the point in time, when we walked up to this high school reunion and out in the parking lot, these 3 guys were standing there, and the biggest guy was one of the guys that bullied us the most. And he goes, "Oh, look, it's fucking Bill. What are you doing here?"
Just kicked him in the balls.
I walked up to him, I drew my left back, and I fucking cracked him in the chin and put him on the ground, and I hit him a couple of times, and I looked at his friends and said, "You want some?"
Okay, Bill.
And we just turned around and walked away.
You saw this.
You're lucky you didn't pick up a charge, man.
You had such a pent-up rage or anger or whatever from the back, whatever had happened, that you just felt the need to suddenly beat the hell out of this guy. Mind you, that's your choice, and if it made you feel better, bravo. But obviously, Bill, I'm talking about before. Where did it take you that you felt the need the next time you saw this person was to beat the shit out of him? Let's start.
I didn't have the need, and I had no plan on doing it. I honestly had no plan on doing it. I was going up there with Junior, and we went in there, and we were talking about seeing some of the girls that we knew from school and stuff like that, or they're walking through there, and these idiots were sitting in the parking lot, chugging beer and whiskey and stuff, and had to say something. And I was like, I just took my turn.
So I feel like you're avoiding the question a little bit, Bill, though.
Yeah.
I'm asking you where that dark place.
So when I was in school, like I told you, I didn't fit in anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
All right. In high school, all right, we'll go into this. So 6'2", only guy in school. Well, me and my buddy Scott were the only guys in school that could jam a basketball. All right. And I did not play basketball for the school. I did not play baseball for the school. All right. And they judged me for that. And I did. And part of it had to do with my teachers, who automatically thought giving me this option. So 10th grade baseball comes up season, and my math teacher is, let's just call him Mr. Miculus, told me, "Hey, I hear you're a good pitcher and stuff like that. You play on the team, you're going to get A in this class." And I said, "Hey," I said, "I get A's all the time." I said, "Go back to junior high." I said, "Ask Otterbacher and ask all them." And he was trying to prop me up with what he thought I ought to do. And I said, "I'm smartest kid in school," which I actually wasn't. There was a kid that had a higher IQ than me, but I went through everything and stuff, and I didn't play. So like baseball, I played summer league, traveling league, but I didn't play for Hazel Park. I played for Riverview. And every time we played against Hazel Park, I made sure my coach lets me pitch. And I beat these guys down. And it was always political up there and everything until I got better. And then all of a sudden they wanted me to be the pitcher. They wanted me to be the, the forward, the tall forward on basketball team and stuff like that. But I don't play for him. And Wimpy was I forgot what his name is. He was Mr. Meyerly was, the gym coach. So we're in gym, and you goof around with the basketball. You throw it from half court, stuff like that. Hey, Mr. Meyerly, what do you think, Wimpy? We're going to make this, blah, blah, blah. You ain't going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And when he became the coach in 12th grade, he told me straight out whenever I actually went to play, he goes, you're not going to make the team. I said, you haven't seen me play. He was judging me. Well, they had an intramural situation after school who anyone could play, and I picked off the 6'7" nerd that was in school that never played basketball before. I had a little short guy that was 5'2" that was muscles that could dribble the basketball, and I had two Hispanic gentlemen, and then they were fastest kid in school. And we played basketball and beat the basketball players and everyone else playing intramural basketball. Okay. I was scoring 50, 55, 60 points a game. And Mr. Meyerly actually said to me, he goes, why don't you do this in gym class? I said, because it's fucking gym class. You're in there to have a good time. I said, if you would have wanted to see what I could do on the basketball court, instead of judging me from gym class, you should have gave me a tryout.
Okay.
And I've had so many people and stuff like that down the line, and the people in school, when I got bullied, I mean, when you had to do stuff in class, in gym class, I was the guy playing floor hockey that was 6'2", and in high school, 180 pounds. And the 220-pound guys come flying across the floor and checked me into the wall.
Before
because
you continue with
I didn't fit in. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask, Jane was going to ask you a question, and I wanted to let her get that out really quick on the middle because you kind of got cut off really quick. What were you going to ask him, Jane?
Well, yeah, it kind of goes back all the way to what you were saying about when you went and you hit the guy, how you didn't have the intention to do it, how it wasn't planned, how it wasn't, but there was still something to that, right? Because no one goes to hit someone just with the feeling to hit someone. You know what I mean? Like I guess there are some people that are like that, but I don't think you're that kind of person, Bill.
Jane, when I got 28 years old, I had been working in the bars for 10 years. I started working in the bars when I was 18 after I graduated school. And Keith knows the bars over there, I think, like I said, it was Club Royal, it was Dazzles, it was Jumpin' Jacks. And over there, you had to be on your toes. I mean, it was a rough bar. And like I said, mostly I just worked the door, and I was the guy that judged everyone when they came in. So if you were drunk and you drank too much, you weren't coming in. And I would look at guys that were coming in arguing with their girlfriend, and I tell the bouncer, I said, okay, this is what you got to watch. I was the guy, I was the cooler. I was the guy at the door that saw what was going on and tell everyone what to do and stuff like that. But I also reacted all the time, and I was not going to be disrespected just because I was long, tall, and skinny. Because all the other bouncers that were bigger, that grew into my life.
So you're saying that a lot of that was actually like instinctual when you did that more than
right. And whenever I walk up to somebody, and I'm 20 feet away from them, and they're already insulting me, and they're drinking alcohol out in a parking lot, sitting on the bumper of a car, I pretty much had the idea that I wasn't going to get past them without them doing something stupid. So I reacted first.
Okay. And I mean, that you're right. Like you said, it's not the answer. It doesn't fix it and stuff, but I get that. My question still, it really goes back though. Have you been brought to the edge, Bill? Like during these times? That's what I wanted to find out, because you come off probably as one of the strongest. I don't give a fuck. I'm going to take care of it. Even your story just now cements that fact. Have you been pushed to that edge?
I have, as far as anything like that, I don't think I have, but I have dealt with depression all my life. I mean, I was one of the very first people when Prozac came out that they gave it to me, and I've told this one to Keith, and it's been on here before. And I've dealt with depression on and off all my life. But it doesn't push me to that point. Most stuff like that doesn't. I mean, the death of my parents and stuff like that, and just recently the death of my son, my daughter-in-law, and stuff like that. That gets me more than people judging me about who the fuck I am.
Right.
And I don't care when people judge me who I am.
But that's as an adult.
I'm me. I'm me. So.
Okay. And that's an adult. But what I was initially getting to was like during those times, what did it do? And I'm glad you haven't been brought to that point. I think some of us have been brought way down. I think some have been brought to that point. I have been, I guess, to that point, but I know it's something I wouldn't do because, like I say, the world is not ready to lose all this. The world needs it. It's here. Jane, before we finish this off, because we're not going to go much longer on this, I want to talk. What was the lowest point? I mean, you got depressed. Have you ever gone to that extreme or thought you might? Based on mostly the concept of not fitting in.
Well, one thing that really affected me a lot when I was a kid was it was a transition from middle school to high school. And something about me is that it wasn't, I'm a very personable kind of gal, like I go and I talk with everyone. I do my best to be as social, but there's not a lot of people that I really consider as people that know me or like my friends. It's a very tighter circle. So from that transition point from a charter school that I was at for elementary to public school, that was a really hard transitional change. And I had friends that I had built along that way when I moved on through that. And a good friend of mine that I've been able to really grow that bond with, and I'm still friends with him to this day. He something that was really broken about it was when time had came to high school, he was someone who kind of followed more of the popular crowd. And it kind of left me back around square one. And this was a much more difficult point in my life as time had passed between my parents' divorce and issues with my mom and her boyfriend at the time. Him and I had gone through a whole lot of issues up until the point when he had passed away. So home life wasn't always really that great. So the one thing that I had to look forward to was school. And it was really hard to stay motivated in school when there wasn't anyone really close to be with. And I think for that, that's when things were a bit more difficult from me onward. And especially throughout high school. But I think a lot of it affected me more when I got to college. Because him and I had always been a part of a lot of the same type of activities. So there was always some competition there, right? We were both actors. We had both worked in lighting department for theater. We were always so proactive in each other's lives, even in those brief moments when we weren't. And what made it so difficult was it always kind of felt as though I was in his shadow a lot. And what made that so difficult at the time was the kind of person that I went to really for advice and for comfort. I kind of saw now as like a challenge. And it pushed back a whole lot of my creativity because I was so focused on that, that it became very difficult to progress in my art form and progress in myself. And it was also around the time when I was trying to figure out if I was bigender, if I was trans, like what do these words mean? It was around that time. But I think when it was the worst, or the lowest that I has been up until this past December, when I decided to drop out of school, drop out of college near my last semester. And what made that so difficult was I had been able to make a small group of friends through college, and then they dispersed through COVID or through relationships souring. And for the longest time, I had felt very alone. And it even now becomes kind of difficult because all I do now is I go to work, I bike to work, and then I bike home, and that's my day,
Yeah.
But something that has kind of helped me stay out of that kind of dark rut, because around December was when it was at its breaking point, and I had a lot of there was too much going on at the same time. thankfully I had my mom there to help me, but there was a lot of talk of trying to figure out if I should go to a ward and be gone for a couple of months and try to figure that out. If I needed to go to a hospital for suicide prevention. Nothing was really working out. It's only been up until this past month when things have finally gotten better. But it was from those type of things of not really having the ability to connect with people outside of the external like presentation that I really have. And I think that a lot of that stemmed back to the fact that I just have a hard time adapting into new environment. Both involving school and well outside of it. I'm not a very social person as I used to be when I was a little kid, I guess. So it's become very difficult to really find places where I can connect with because I have that inability to really do that now at this point because I have that kind of subconsciousness, I guess, towards it. If any of that made sense.
No, it did. And that's the
Yeah.
point is it all happens so much behind the scenes,
Mhm.
you know, that people don't see. I'm going to get to this comment. I was going to hit the tail of the show, but this comment came in. Ashley says, you're not telling everything. Isn't this place where you share everything and tell the truth, Bill? You know what I'm talking about. First, Ashley, I got to say, we do appreciate that people share everything because then people have somewhere to relate to. I'm not going to force Bill to, but Bill, is there something else you want to share? Do you know what she's talking about? And if you don't, that's okay.
She's talking about when my goddaughter Courtney died. So when she passed away, she was a little short girl, muscles. She was bodybuilder. She dressed up as She-Hulk every year for Halloween. She was fucking awesome, you know. She went through a lot of shit, and I helped her through it and everything. When she passed away, and she was a gay woman, and all her friends took her for burial. No one told me where she was being buried, no services or anything like that. So I wasn't able to be involved in that. And it didn't take me down to where I wanted to do anything bad or anything like that. But I was very depressed, and it hurt me a lot. It hurt me a lot. So
It's something like that definitely would. And she's right. Sometimes it's good to say stuff like that and get it out there because, Bill, you're not the only one who's, you know, dealt with stuff like that. I'm not talking about anybody on this panel even. I'm talking about people who may be watching.
Mhm.
And it is something that's very hard for them to, you know, handle. You may be strong enough. I may be strong enough. And apparently everybody on this panel is strong enough. That's why we're here to try to give these stories and help other people out there because they may not be. And I think that's one of the most important things we can do. But the good news is we're living proof that you can get through anything if you have the right mindset and the way you hold yourself. And what does anybody have anything else to add before we go to the final?
we haven't talked about sex enough on the show. I mean, come on, what the hell? No one even said KY jelly.
I'm not going to go that far. All right.
AJ said.
Sorry, Bill. Completely accidental. My bad. So, you know, we talk about fitting in. We've talked about, you know, how it feels to not belong. And the true topic is not about fitting in. It's about exclusion.
Mhm.
And when you can't find somewhere, you don't always feel like you don't fit in as much as you're being excluded because of things. Exclusion is what takes you down that path, feeling nobody wants you, feeling that you do not belong there with somebody. And it happens because of all you motherfuckers out there that think it's funny and to be the star of your group, to put other people down, to make them feel unwanted. You may think it's words. You may think it's just something going by that you do every day and you joke with your friends. Your friends fucking know you. Those people you're putting down, those people you're making feel so bad, they don't know you. You may be joking at heart. They think you're serious. They think they have no reason to live, and it will take them down to the point of wanting to kill themselves. I've been to that point. Many people here on this panel have been to that point. Because we did something wrong? No. All we wanted was acceptance. All we wanted was to be a part of something. And you kept us from doing that. And then you pushed us so far that we kept ourselves from doing that. That we didn't want to be a part of things. But there's a solution. And I said that solution was here. And it is, because we don't fit in a group. We create our own. We have a group. It's right in front of you. This one is Your Shoulder Voice. This was created by people not finding a place to talk, to be accepted, to fit in, that nobody will understand what they're talking about or what they're saying. And we created one. We're not the only one out there. Several people have done this. And you also can. And it doesn't have to be a live show. You create your own topics. You don't have to know everything. If you let it go for too long, you will eventually entertain the thoughts of, if I don't belong here, why do I belong on this planet? Why do I belong with life? I'm going to tell you right now, you belong with life. You belong on this planet. Because just like those people may make you feel bad and not know it, you make a lot of other people feel really good and you don't know it. You're part of more groups than you realize. You're part of a group that doesn't get together and have dinner, that doesn't get drunk and have a friend's game night, that doesn't go to the bar together. You're part of a group of connections, of people who truly understand each other. You're part of a group of influencers who make everybody else feel better about themselves because you're around. Your impact is insurmountable. Don't ever forget that. I say the world's not ready to lose me because they're not ready to lose me. I've learned my impact. It took me many, many years to do so. Don't give up before you learn yours. Nikki, you impacted my life. AJ's impacted my life. Bill's impacted my life. And Jane, you've impacted my life majorly. I think everybody has had people that have impacted their lives that never know they did. So don't give up. Stay true to who you are. And if you don't fit in somewhere and you don't fit in somewhere else, create your own space and invite others in. And that's what we can do, I think, to help. Don't forget, you can reach out to us anytime at Your Shoulder Voice simply by going to our website or to the meta page where you can talk anonymously if you want to, or in person. One of our shoulders will be glad to talk to you anytime about any issue you might be having. Like, share, subscribe, and follow. Like I said at the start of the show, very important if you're watching on YouTube especially. We want to get out there, and your like and your follows and your subscriptions mean so much to us. They help the channel grow, and we want to get out there for that. Today's show has been, if I can click it, how do I fit in? And it was about fitting in. And sometimes we're so worried about fitting in that we forget we can create that group and invite others in instead of us trying to get into somewhere else. And most people really like
it. It is a sex show.
Bill,
you went into group. You said it's got a group thing fitting in, so it's a sex show.
All right, so it's a sex show. I was all serious and you fucked it up. Way to go. Coming up on our next topic, there's an open forum this Sunday. Of course, work intercedes. My summer work schedule is insane, so I miss a lot of the weekend shows, especially. But our next topic is a departing family releasing your role. That's about when, whether it be kids growing up and leaving and you suddenly are not going to be the parent, or maybe a child is getting a new spouse, or at some point you've got to let go. They're no longer daddy's little girl, mama's boy, or anything like that. Or just even splitting apart, when it's something we all go through and have gone through, and sometimes it could be caused by death as well. When your family departs and you're left on your own, how do you deal with it? Do you release your hold on other people? We're going to discuss that because we have panelists on here who definitely are dealing with it at the moment and have dealt with it in the past. So that should be a good show for us. That'll be next Wednesday, August 3rd. Other than that, thank you everybody for being here. Nikki, my God, you are a fucking trooper. Can I say what you're going through briefly?
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
I think you said it before, but just to be safe, I want to ask. But I know you're getting ready for surgery. You've got the back problems. You've been medicated. You've been in and out of the doctors so much. You literally left the damn doctors.
And she's sitting in the car.
And got on this show. You are a fucking trooper, and I love you for it. I love everything you have to say on here. So I want to thank you for that, and also because what you say really does matter.
Thanks,
It
Keith.
does make an impact.
Thank you.
AJ, welcome to Your Shoulder Voice. Glad to have you here. You've been through a lot on your show too, and you pointed out a lot of times how some people don't understand always what you're going through, and you're dealing with a lot of things that a lot of people don't even recognize or understand. And you're a good example of how sometimes the groups that we don't belong to, that we're associated with, just they're not our thing. And I'm glad that you found the ability to be your own person and you found a way to get through that yourself. And I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thank you.
Bill, good to have you here. Jane, you finally made it.
Hey, I did not, as far as I know, insult AJ. So,
You did not. Hey, yeah, you behaved. You behaved. Yeah, Bill makes it a point to insult everybody on here. Okay, Bill, it was always good having you.
I know insult you. So that's just you. If the other people get insulted, it's not directly. It just happens. So.
All right. So it's still nice having you, Bill. It was still good having you on here. We always love when you're on here, Bill. I tried to break you a little bit. Thank you, Ashley, for your assistance in that a little bit, because Bill tries to hide things too. Bill is an open book, but he's an open book that's part of an encyclopedia set.
That's right. That's right. And you didn't get them all delivered to you. There's only part of them there. So.
I know, exactly. So, I mean, there's more to share, but Bill, I appreciate you. You have opened up before very deeply, and I always appreciate when you do. And it's good to see the people who you think are gruff and can handle anything. It's good to see that, hey, we're human beings too. So I appreciate that from you. And Jane, also on the trooper status, you get into a fucking accident on the way here. And your first thought is, I'm in pain. And my ankle's twisted backwards and I can't feel the left side of my body, but I'm on the show.
It's been a while.
It has.
Don't you see her? That's actually her back right there. Her front is on the other side. Her neck is twisted around. So
yeah.
How could you tell? How could you?
No, I'm a bad accent. No, I'm glad you made it.
I'm glad to be here.
Forward. Yeah, I was definitely looking forward to you being on here. I know you missed a good portion of the show. I wish you would have been on that because I know you have a lot to say on the topic, and you've definitely been through trying to fit in, as we all have. But everything you brought afterwards, you were great at coming up to speed, and I'm glad you were able to share some of the stuff you went through as well. And yours, unlike a lot of the people on here, are current. Like they really are recent right now that you're dealing with it, and that's important because, well, of course, you're young. Fuck off for that one, but whatever. Can't control when you're born. But no, you're dealing with it currently. And that's what people need to see too, because people still are. Some people will continue to be Bill's age and still deal with it. Some people are in junior high school and just learning and trying to deal with it, and some can't. So it's nice to see that your experiences have affected you in the way they have, but it's also made you stronger. And thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you.
All right. Other than that, I'm Keith Lifton for Ear Shoulder Voice, and we will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great night. Bye.
Bye.
When you're alone and feeling down, and you're 10 feet underground, when you're so deep you're about to drown, when you're in the lost and found, 'cause heartaches only last a day. Ooh, but your heart will never fade away. Go out and find your way. Don't let them take your soul away. Not a week, not a single day. Hold true to what you wanna be. Never let go, and here's the key. Be you, yeah, only you. Only you. Be you, yeah, only you. Only you.
Well. What a show. It was short. So, how was it, AJ?
Not bad at all.
You're busy. You're like, Chad, now you're like, screw this. I'm on my phone. This is done. This is over with.
No, nothing like that. No.
Nikki, how'd you make it home? Were you at the home in the car?
Do what?
You're at home
She was
now?
sitting in the
Hold on.
driveway. Remember her husband
What?
came out? She was sitting in the driveway. Her husband came out.
Oh, I thought you were at the doctor's still in the parking lot, or the where you were earlier.
No,
That would have been bazonkers.
I
no.
know. I was like, we come back. Nicole.
I've been home this whole time.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
that
she
makes
just
more
raced it during the credits.
sense. Like, wait, we got 2.5
Yeah.
months to get home.
Fuck a red.
No, but my lighting was starting to change, so I had to move and come to my front porch.
You have a
Now.
friend?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is finally coming.
Next week, next week, as long as I'm like of sound mind and I can speak, you'll get the hospital view. I'll make sure it's like, a nice view. I mean, not like that
like
though.
frizz your hair up and like make sure you got that tube in and all that shit. And be like, well, gotta make
I'll do it good.
You
I'll do it up good. I'll do it up good.
We'll put a little
Perfect.
donations. Save Nikki.
She's getting old.
So, Bill, how are we gonna crack that egg? We're slowly doing it,
What?
but I know there's a
What
lot
egg?
of stuff in there we're gonna have to hit.
Oh.
Keith, you already know more than most everybody else in the world knows.
I know, but I also
Not
know you.
Not even talking about on here. Not even talking about on here, but whenever I talk to you or message you and stuff, and you know more than most everyone else in the world knows. So, but lately it's just trying to get the house and trying to get all the money out of this house before I get out of here, so that my daughter has something. So, and I just told her, I said, we're going to put money down on a house and get a house. And the title companies and shit like that is hilarious. So she got pre-approved for $200,000, and we put in a bid on a house that was $189, and boom, boom, boom. We put in we put in $199, $10,000 above. The house sold for $229.
Oh shit.
Wow.
So,
Couldn't
Jane,
get
are
it.
you okay?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be fine. It was funny that you said the left side, because the left side is where I got the most dinged up.
Well, I secretly was spying on you the whole time. I saw the whole thing.
Yeah, like
I didn't
I'm
pay
okay.
the guy either. He was supposed to finish the job.
Yeah, well, maybe next time. No, I'm okay. I mean, luckily there were some people there that helped me back up, and because I was on my bike. And I mean, I got a couple scrapes here and there, but I'll be all right.
Did a car hit you while you're on your bike?
No, so how it was, I don't. I feel it's so hard to explain. That's something that
You
happened.
ran into the back of a car?
I think
No,
she
no,
was
no,
an
no.
idiot in this situation. It seems
No,
like
no,
She
no, no,
doesn't
no,
wanna
no.
say it.
So hold on. So I've been in a good
You
couple
hit
of
your front
accidents.
brakes and flipped over?
Let me explain. So
Yeah.
this
Alright.
particular accident, I was heading over to the library, which is
What's that?
I almost said what my address was, and that would have been awful. But it's right down the corner of my house. Like I go.
Everyone
between
knows
two
where you live
intersections.
already. It doesn't matter. So ahead.
And the thing is after a recent accident that I had prior to this, which was with a car, that bike had been totaled. So I've gotten this new bike, and it has a different way of how they handle the brakes. The one before, it was a cruiser bike, so you have the cruiser brakes. This